Hello, fellow aficionados. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Overthinking is the silent thief that robs you of peace, clarity, and action. It whispers doubt into your mind and paralyzes you with endless what-ifs. In a world driven by distractions and chaos, the mind becomes its own worst enemy, spiraling into obsessive analysis, crippling indecision, and imagined fears. But what if there was a way to master this mental turmoil, to reclaim your mind from its restless tendencies? Enter the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, an ancient but timeless guide to conquering overthinking at its very core. These 7 lessons aren't just abstract concepts, they are a brutal yet liberating roadmap to break free from the chains of your own thoughts and finally live with a clear, unburdened mind. Number 1. The power of indifference. Focus on what you control. Overthinking thrives on worrying about things that are out of your control. You get caught in endless loops, analyzing every possible outcome, every word someone said, every decision you made. It's exhausting and ultimately pointless. This is where the core of Stoicism cuts through the noise, by teaching you to focus solely on what you can control and letting go of the rest. Think about it. You have zero control over how people perceive you, whether certain events will happen or what someone else decides to do. Yet, overthinking traps you in a cycle of trying to control those very things. It's like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. No matter how much energy you put in, it leads nowhere. Stoicism forces you to step back and brutally ask yourself, can I change this? If the answer is no, then any thought spent on it is wasted time and emotional energy. When you focus on what's within your power, your actions, your responses, your mindset, you start to clear out the mental clutter. This is where true freedom lies. You stop being a slave to circumstances, opinions, or fears, and instead direct your mental energy into things you can influence. This isn't about ignoring problems or pretending nothing matters. It's about sharpening your focus to what actually matters and abandoning the rest. The mind has a way of turning minor issues into towering mountains when left unchecked. By practicing this Stoic principle, you discipline your mind to stop feeding the fire of overthinking. It takes effort, but with time, you'll find that most of the things you once agonized over weren't even worth a second thought. The mental space you free up by letting go of what you can't control becomes a powerful tool for peace and productivity. Number 2, negative visualization. Prepare for the worst, then let go. Overthinking often comes from fear of failure, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of things going badly. The mind obsesses over worst-case scenarios, running through them like a broken record as if by worrying enough, you'll somehow prevent disaster. But here's the truth. Those fears have no power unless you give it to them. The Stoic practice of negative visualization is about taking that power back. It might sound counterintuitive, but by actively contemplating the worst that could happen, you diffuse the anxiety it creates. You face your deepest fears head-on, stripping away their mystery and intimidation. When you allow yourself to fully think about the worst-case scenario, you start to realize that even the worst isn't the end of the world. Could you lose your job? Maybe. Could you fail? Sure. Could someone reject you? Absolutely. But would you survive it? Almost always, yes. And once you realize that, the fear loses its grip. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't leave you paralyzed in fear. It does the opposite. It frees you. When you've mentally prepared for the worst, anything that happens short of that feels like a win. You've already stripped the scenario of its worst consequences. So now your mind is free to act without the chains of constant worry. Negative visualization also toughens your mind, making you resilient to the unexpected. It's not about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared. Overthinking thrives on uncertainty, but when you've already confronted the worst, uncertainty has no hold over you. You've looked fear in the face, acknowledged it, and moved on. And that's the ultimate antidote to overthinking. No longer being held hostage by the what-ifs, because you've already made peace with them. Number 3, memento mori, remember you will die. Nothing puts overthinking into perspective like the reality of death. The Stoic concept of remember you will die isn't meant to be dark or morbid. It's a blunt reminder of how short life really is and how easily we waste time overanalyzing things that don't matter. When you accept that your time is finite, overthinking feels like a ridiculous luxury, a self-imposed prison where you trade precious moments of your life for imaginary problems. Most of what you obsess over today will be irrelevant in the long run. Think about the things you worried about 5 years ago. How many of them still matter? Probably none. And yet, overthinking fools you into believing that every minor decision, every possible outcome, is life-altering. But once you confront the reality that one day none of this will matter, you start to see overthinking for what it really is, a distraction from living. It isn't about being careless or reckless, it's about being brutally honest with yourself. Every minute you spend trapped in your head, agonizing over decisions or worrying about what others think, is a minute you'll never get back. Death is inevitable, and wasting your life overthinking is the most tragic way to face it. When you fully grasp that, overthinking loses its power. This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to free you. If you knew you had a limited time left, would you really want to spend it stuck in your own head, overanalyzing every detail? Or would you rather live boldly, make decisions without being crippled by doubt, and let go of things that don't serve you? Memento mori isn't just a Stoic concept, it's a call to live fully, unburdened by the pointless loops of overthinking. Because in the end, none of the mental clutter matters. What matters is that you live. Number 4. Turn obstacles into opportunities. Love fate, amor fati. Overthinking often stems from seeing problems as roadblocks, as if every challenge is there to stop you in your tracks. You get caught up in the "why is this happening?" or "how will I ever get past this?" mindset, which leads to endless loops of worry. But Stoicism flips that thinking on its head. Instead of seeing obstacles as something to dread, it teaches you to see them as opportunities for growth, something to be embraced, not feared. This concept is called, which means love of fate. It's not just about accepting what happens to you, but actually embracing it. Every setback, every challenge, every problem becomes a tool for your improvement. The more you resist life's difficulties, the more you're stuck in the overthinking trap. You replay scenarios in your head, stress over things not going your way, and wish things were different. But once you train your mind to love whatever comes your way, the entire game changes. Life is full of obstacles, that's a given. But what if instead of letting them bog you down, you approach them with curiosity and strength? Every challenge becomes a way to build resilience, sharpen your skills, or rethink your approach. The obstacle becomes the way forward, not something blocking your path. You stop overthinking about how unfair or difficult something is because your focus shifts to, how can this make me better? When you truly adopt this mindset, overthinking takes a back seat. Problems no longer feel like dead ends, they're stepping stones. And once you start to view life that way, you free yourself from the constant mental chatter. Instead of being paralyzed by uncertainty, you move forward with confidence, knowing that no matter what comes your way, it's an opportunity to evolve. Overthinking can't survive in a mind that sees every difficulty as a gift. You turn what feels like chaos into purpose. Number 5. View yourself from the outside, the observer's mind. Overthinking has a way of pulling you into your own head, making you lose perspective. You're so caught up in the details, in the what-ifs and the hypothetical outcomes, that it feels like there's no way out. But one of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers is the ability to step outside yourself and view your situation from a distance, almost as if you were watching someone else's life unfold. This shift in perspective can snap you out of overthinking faster than anything else. When you're wrapped up in your own thoughts, everything feels personal, urgent, and overwhelming. Every small problem becomes a catastrophe in your mind. But when you take a step back and look at your situation from an outsider's point of view, things instantly seem less serious. You detach from the emotional intensity and start to see things objectively. What seemed like a huge problem now looks like just another challenge to navigate. And often you realize that what you're obsessing over isn't as important as you thought. This practice is like hitting the pause button on your thoughts. You stop reacting emotionally and start thinking rationally. What advice would you give a friend in the same situation? How would you judge someone else dealing with the same issue? When you look at your life from the outside, the emotional weight that feeds overthinking begins to dissolve. You're no longer trapped in the whirlwind of your own mind. This isn't about being detached from reality or indifferent to your own life. It's about getting clarity. Overthinking thrives on emotional attachment and irrational fears. But when you observe your thoughts from a distance, you take away their fuel. You see things for what they really are, just passing events, decisions to be made, problems to solve, not life-defining moments to agonize over. That kind of clarity shuts down overthinking and replaces it with focused action. Number 6, voluntary discomfort. Train your mind through hardship. Overthinking often comes from mental weakness, from a mind that hasn't been tested enough or trained to handle discomfort. When things get tough, the mind looks for escape routes, and it finds them in endless loops of doubt, fear, and second-guessing. But the Stoics had a different approach. They deliberately put themselves in uncomfortable situations to toughen their minds, making them resilient and unshakable. This practice is called voluntary discomfort, and it's one of the most powerful ways to silence overthinking. When you subject yourself to controlled hardship, whether it's fasting, taking cold showers, or embracing silence, you train your mind to handle discomfort without falling apart. The mind stops overreacting to every little challenge because it has been conditioned to deal with difficulty. You start to develop a mental toughness that makes you immune to the noise and clutter that usually sparks overthinking. The logic is simple. If you can willingly embrace discomfort, then you've already conquered a large part of your mind. When tough situations arise, you're no longer caught off guard or thrown into a spiral of overthinking because you've been here before. You've faced discomfort head-on, and instead of letting it paralyze you, you've grown stronger from it. Overthinking comes from a fear of the unknown, of things being too hard, too uncomfortable. But when you've made discomfort a normal part of your life, those fears lose their edge. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't just help in the moment. It builds long-term resilience. You stop overthinking not because you're avoiding discomfort, but because you've made peace with it. You've trained your mind to stay calm, even in chaos. And when your mind is calm, overthinking has nowhere to take root. Instead of getting lost in doubt, you move forward with a clear, focused mindset that can handle whatever comes your way. Number 7, daily reflection. Evening review to sharpen your mind. Overthinking is often a result of not being fully aware of how much space your thoughts are taking up in your mind. You don't realize how much time you spend going over the same worries or doubts until it's already consumed your day. That's why the Stoics practice daily reflection, taking time at the end of each day to review their actions, their thoughts, and their emotions without judgment. This wasn't about guilt or regret, it was about gaining clarity and sharpening their awareness. By reflecting on your day, you catch those moments where your mind spiraled into overthinking. You can trace back to where you let anxiety take over or where you hesitated because of fear. This simple act of reviewing your mental state helps you understand the patterns that trigger your overthinking. Once you're aware of those patterns, you can start to break them. The next time a similar situation comes up, you're ready for it. You know what it feels like when your mind starts to overanalyze, and you can stop it in its tracks. Daily reflection also forces you to be honest with yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and not realize how much of your energy is spent on things that don't matter. But when you sit down at the end of the day and look at where your thoughts were, you start to see what's really worth your time and what's not. You stop giving power to trivial worries and redirect your focus to what truly matters. This practice builds discipline, but more importantly, it builds self-awareness. And that's the key to overcoming overthinking. Knowing your mind, understanding its tendencies, and having the tools to keep it in check. By making daily reflection a habit, you stay on top of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. You don't let overthinking sneak up on you because you're constantly checking in with yourself, refining your mental clarity and making sure your mind is working for you, not against you. Overcoming overthinking is not about silencing your mind, but mastering it. Stoic philosophy offers powerful tools to do just that. by focusing on what you can control, embracing life's challenges, and confronting your fears head-on. These 7 lessons don't just provide temporary relief, they reshape the way you approach your thoughts, teaching you to live with clarity and intention. The mind can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, and Stoicism helps you turn it into a weapon for strength, resilience, and peace. By practicing these principles, you can stop letting overthinking dictate your life and start living it fully with purpose and confidence. If you found these insights on overcoming overthinking with Stoic philosophy valuable, don't miss out on more content like this. Subscribe to our channel for regular updates, in-depth discussions, and practical tips to enhance your life and mindset. Join our community and take the next step toward mastering your thoughts and living with greater clarity. Thanks for tuning in. Take care and bye.